Hello everybody and welcome back to Pitch This here on the MrEliMac channel. I am MrEliMac and this is the show where I pitch a movie idea that I really would like to see from a film franchise that I will probably never be able to write for since people don't know who I am. So I thought it would be a great idea for me to pitch the idea to you. And before I get into the pitch, I hope you all please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. That way you can see all the videos that I have here on the channel. Also hit the notification bell. That way you can be notified whenever a new video like this comes your way. For this episode, I am back to another retitled movie because Ultimate Custom Night wouldn't be the best title for a movie. Now, for a video game, yeah, Ultimate Custom Night is a good video game title, but for a movie, I don't think people are gonna go watch Five Nights at Freddy's Ultimate Custom Night. So no, instead, I've decided to retitle the movie for something that I think is appropriate for the plot that I'm going for the movie, and because it's really focusing on a major fan theory that people have created, and especially a theory that game theory has very much originated, I believe, and sort of let grow into like the main prevailing theory for what Ultimate Custom Night is. So here's my pitch for Five Nights at Freddy's Purgatory. And as I've said before in other videos like this, some elements of these videos will be inspired by the game theorists, so I would like to thank MatPat and his crew for creating these videos. That way people like me can sort of take them and sort of mold them into what we want. Also, I would like to thank Scott Cawthon for, without him, we would not have these games, and without these games, we wouldn't be able to build the movie stories that we have, because he very much laid the foundation with his game. So again, I'd like to thank MatPat, his crew, and Scott Cawthon. And we start off this movie with William Afton shooting up from his bed. He's breathing heavily, and he's young again. He's like in his, how we saw him last in Five Nights at Freddy's 4. He's trying to catch his breath, and he starts checking to see if he's alive. You know, he's surprised, but then he hears a voice next to him. It's a woman's voice, and the woman sits up next to him and places her hand on his shoulder. And he looks over at her, and he sees a familiar face. A face he hasn't seen in years. It's his wife's face, Cassandra Afton. And for the first time in a long time, William genuinely smiles and hugs her. She pats him on his back, wondering if everything's okay, and he says that everything's great. He looks back over to her, but then his face turns to horror as he backs away out of the bed as he sees the face of Golden Freddy. William screams in fear as he's teleported back into the Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria from the first movie. He looks around and he sees emptiness. He hears some rattling near the main stage, and he slowly looks over and he sees some outlines of the animatronics. Once he sees them, he quickly runs back into the security office, and he closes the door, trying to hide. And he hears a voice echo throughout the room, telling him that's not how it works. That's not how you're supposed to survive. And so the doors open up again. And then a screen pops up in front of him, showing him the security feed. And he looks at the feed, and he sees Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy standing on the stage. William's heart starts to beat faster and faster and faster as he tries to survive his time with the original animatronic. And he goes through all the motions that Mike Schmidt went through. And the clock starts ticking closer and closer and closer to 6 a.m. But William was never as cautious as Mike Schmidt. Before he knows it, Freddy Fazbear enters the room and attacks William Afton. And the moment Freddy attacks William, William is teleported back at a dinner table with Cassandra and Henry Emily. And Cassandra and Henry asks him if everything is okay, and William answers that, yeah, everything's fine. And Henry continues talking, and he pitches the idea of a new restaurant to open with William and Cassandra. And he talks about creating animatronics for it, similar to what they've done at Disney. And William looks at the designs of some of the animatronics and picks the two he thinks would work best for the diner: a golden bear and a golden bunny. William talks about how they can build the restaurant around the bear and have him be the central figure, the mascot. Calling it Freddy Fazbear's Diner or Freddy's Diner Extravaganza or something like that. He doesn't have the name of the restaurant fully created in his mind. And Henry just smiles and agrees, while Cassandra just sits back and looks nervously at the designs. And later that night, William and Cassandra discuss the idea of opening the diner, and Cassandra tells him that she's nervous about opening the diner. She talks about how money is tight right now and that they still need to make ends meet for the kids. And William pushes back, saying that this is going to be the way to make more money for them. Cassandra continues to disagree, but William shouts at her, telling her that they need this. And he tells her to trust him. And she nods and continues cleaning up the dining room. But then he walks over to her and apologizes for shouting. He tells her that he needs this. It's something that Henry and he have been talking about for a few years now, and that this is something that could become real. She stays silent, and he says her name, places his hand on her shoulder. But then she turns around slowly, and the face of Golden Freddy appears again. William starts to back away, but the Golden Freddy pops out at him, and he finds himself back in a security office. But this one looks different from the first one. No, it looks like the security office from the second Five Nights at Freddy's movie. The ominous voice returns to him, telling William that time is running out and that he needs to hurry. And William looks at the alarm clock as it slowly clicks away to 6 a.m. And he tries his hardest to stay alive. He does everything he knows that he needs to do. But in the end, the puppet sneaks into the security office and attacks William Afton. Because of that, William is teleported back to the time with him and Henry looking at their first location. Henry walks around the building and starts chuckling. He looks at William and tells him that the building is perfect for the diner. And he points at an area near the center of the building, and he says that that's where the stage for the animatronics could be. And Henry tells him about where the backstage area could be, and where the dressing room could be, or where the tables could go, where everything could go. And William walks up close to Henry and agrees with him. And he also mentions how they need to try to make the animatronic suits instead. Because, William wants everything to be safe. And Henry turns to William and then asks him why they need to be suits. And again, William just states that people care more about people in suits. Like, people don't care about animatronics. They want people in suits. That's what people want. That is what the public wants. Again, look at Disney and all their rides, the animatronic. No one cares about them. People care about Mickey Mouse walking around in a suit. And also, it's a lot easier to make sure that no one gets hurt. William mentions the risks of having an animatronic and how it could accidentally chop down on someone's head, maybe even a kid's head. Safety first. But then there's a brief bit of silence. And Henry straightens up, and he looks at William. And Henry tells William that that's not how it happened. William asks what Henry is talking about, and Henry tells William that he's lying. William starts to back up, and Henry tells William that he insisted on the animatronics. Henry continues to mention that William even wanted to ignore all the safety protocols. In fact, it took his wife to convince him to add some sort of safety protocols. And when Henry mentions Cassandra, she appears next to Henry. Cassandra agrees with Henry. And Cassandra tells William that if it wasn't for him, that Evan would still be alive. And William, no, he tries to deny it. No, he starts blaming Michael for Evan's death. No, it was Michael's fault. Michael was the one that put Evan's head in the animatronic. It's all Michael's fault. But Cassandra tells William that he could have prevented this. He just needed to listen to Henry. That's all he needed to do. But William continues to deny it. It wasn't his fault. No. It wasn't his fault. But then he looks behind them, beyond them, where the backstage area would be, and he sees an outline of a Fazbear animatronic. William slowly backs away until the outline of the Golden Freddy appears. William runs to the doors and he tries to open them, but the doors are locked. And William turns around and the Golden Freddy is right there and it attacks him. And William finds himself back in another security office, but this time it doesn't look like Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. No, it is not there. No, William Afton is in the security office for Fazbear Frights. And all he does is sees the similarities and he shakes his head. He tries to exit the room, but the Golden Freddy prevents him from leaving. The voice says that he needs to face one of his darkest selves. William looks over in the hallway and he sees the Springtrap version of himself. And William slowly backs into the office with his heart racing. And William goes through the entire night trying to survive, but he ultimately is attacked by the Springtrap version of himself. However, before he teleports to a moment from his past, he hears another voice, different from the one that's been talking to him already. No, this voice is familiar. This voice is of a young girl, his daughter, Elizabeth Afton. And then she tells him that she's going to help them. William just slightly smiles and then hears the voice of his wife, Cassandra. He turns around. Cassandra is standing there in the living room with her arms crossed. Cassandra gets upset that William brought Elizabeth to Henry's workroom, but William tells her that Elizabeth wasn't going to get hurt and that all of the tools were at a safe distance. Elizabeth wasn't going to be anywhere near them, but Cassandra doesn't care. She didn't want Elizabeth or any of her children near the unfinished animatronics. William tells her that it's going to be fine and they're not going to be traumatized, but Cassandra scoffs. She asks William if he cares about what she thinks is best for their kids, and William sighs and says that he cares. But before he could finish, Cassandra cuts him off by asking him why he didn't ask for her permission to bring Elizabeth then. Why did he decide to do it for himself and not include his wife into the thought process? And William stays silent and walks out of the room. Then Cassandra stands alone, looking around. And William walks out in the rain and gets into his car. And he starts the car and he drives off. He tries to take a few seconds and parks in the park. And after a few seconds of sitting alone, Cassandra pulls up in her car next to him. He notices her and gets out. He shouts at her to go home, but she tries to make amends. And as Cassandra is trying to apologize and make amends, he just ignores her, and they continue to argue about William not listening to Cassandra and William just doing whatever he wants with the kids and how he brought Elizabeth to the workroom. Again, the arguments continue, bringing up how William just wanted to open the diner without her even talking about it, and he gets so frustrated at her that he just hits her across the face. And her face stays away from him. Her hand is to her cheek, shocked. And William slowly begins to realize, because her face is away this long, that something is off. Cassandra turns around to reveal the Golden Freddy head and attacks him. But then William teleports, and now he is sitting in his son's bed, feeling a fear that wasn't his. Then the ominous voice speaks up again, telling William that he never truly knew his son's fear. And William recognizes everything in Evan's room. And the voice continues saying that Evan was afraid of the animatronics the moment he saw how they were made. And the voice tells William that his son's fear was all his fault. But William, no, he tries to deny it. It wasn't his fault. He just brought Evan to how they were made. No. Evan was just irrational fear. Evan shouldn't have been afraid, but the voice continues to say, it's all your fault. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. And now William is forced to survive the night, seeing all of the nightmare animatronics that his son had created in his dreams. And William tries to run out of Evan's room, trying to ignore the fact that he caused this fear in his son, but he is caught by Nightmare Bonnie. And because of this, he is pushed into darkness. And as he sits in the darkness, he hears his daughter's voice again, telling him that he's going to be all right, and that she has a plan to escape. But she's stuck too. She tells him that he needs to find a way to help her. And once she's free, she'll be able to help him. He looks around and he agrees. But then suddenly the rain returns around him as he is teleported back to the night he hit his wife. She holds her face in shock and looks back at him. William walks up wanting to apologize, but Cassandra backs away from him. She tells him that she's taking the kids to visit their grandparents. He shakes his head and he tells her that he's not letting her take them away from him. And Cassandra says that he doesn't have a choice. And she walks back to the car, but William runs over to her and pulls her away from the car. But then there is a short melee between William and Cassandra, with him trying to keep her from leaving and Cassandra trying to escape. And he even causes her to drop her keys, and she scratches his face and runs into the park. And William screams out her name, Cassandra! Cassandra! And runs back into the park, trying to get her. And William searches for his wife and starts following her footsteps. Cassandra hides behind a tree, hoping for William not to find her. And a few seconds pass as William walks past the tree. Cassandra slowly walks back toward her car and finds the keys. She gets inside the car, and after turning the car on, William punches the window and pulls her out of the car. And he grabs her by the throat and starts choking her. She tries to gasp for air, and William keeps telling her that she wasn't taking his kids away from her. He continues to squeeze her throat, and she continues to fight back, but it is all for naught as the life escapes her body. And William lets go of her throat and looks at her lifeless body. The adrenaline escapes his, and he realizes what he did. He tries to wake her up, but he understands the fact that he just killed his wife. He cries, truly feeling remorse. He kisses her one last time and looks around the park. He places her back in the car, and he turns the car on and puts it in neutral. He backs the car up to the road, and he puts the car in drive. He looks at his wife and tells her that he loves her. He takes a brick and places it on the gas. He watches as the car goes crazy and it wrecks into a tree. He walks over to the car and sees her body ejected from it. Her body, broken, arm, legs, neck, everything. If she wasn't dead earlier, she is dead now. He starts crying again as he takes the brick away. He starts walking away from the car, but he hears the voice again, the ominous voice. It tells him that he was always a bad man. He turns around and he sees the broken body of his wife stand up. The neck cracks back into place as the golden Freddy face returns. It runs toward William as he runs away from it, and he's able to get to his car, but the Golden Freddy is able to catch him. And he appears in the maintenance office that was located at the sister location. And he hears the voice of his daughter echoing throughout the building. He smiles and whispers that he hears her. She tells him that all he has to do is make it to the scooping room, and he is a bit hesitant because he knows what happens in the scooping room. Nonetheless, he goes to the scooping room anyway, making it there completely unharmed, and he sees the original body of his daughter. Not Circus Baby, not Scrap Baby, little Elizabeth Afton right in front of him. William smiles, and the two embrace in a hug. Elizabeth tells him that she's been stuck living her worst nightmares. She later tells him that she doesn't think that they're in hell. No, they're somewhere else. And that's when they both hear the ominous voice again. And it tells them both to survive the night. And they both get teleported to the Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria that Henry created that caused them both to die. William and Elizabeth survive the night and see one final animatronic. And it's the Golden Freddy animatronic. Elizabeth looks at it and realizes who it is. Elizabeth says the name that we've heard all the way back in the first Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Cassidy? And William hears that name and turns to look at the animatronic. And he starts laughing once he realizes what's going on. And he starts mocking Cassidy. But Cassidy still tries to make William fear her, but William starts telling Elizabeth all about Cassidy. How she was the one that tried to fight back. How Cassidy was the one that loved the Golden Freddy suit. And Cassidy was the one that wanted to kill every security guard that ever worked at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. Because of that, Cassidy tries to attack William, but the moment she gets close, he turns into the Golden Bonnie animatronic, and he grabs Cassidy by the throat and looks deep into her eyes. Cassidy tries to fight back, but slowly her Golden Freddy form turns back into the little girl that died. William brings her close to him and tells her that she's not going to be causing them any more pain from now on. And he squeezes Cassidy's throat, and he tells her that I always come back. And Cassidy fades away. Elizabeth laughs and tells her father that she learned of a way to go back home. He asks her how. She brings her father to an unknown room in the pizzeria. When she opens the door, all they see are binary code, ones and zeros. And William reverts back to his normal self and asks Elizabeth how this is possible. And Elizabeth simply says that she made a deal with the devil. William laughs and takes her shoulder. He tells her that Daddy is proud of her. He grabs her hand, and the two enter the binary code, and we cut to a man playtesting a new video game called FNAF World. But then the man notices that the game starts glitching, and he calls someone over. The person looks at the glitches and takes the game out of the PC. And he places the disc on a VR headset. And the disc just electrocutes the headset, letting the audience know that William and Elizabeth are coming back. And that's how I would make Ultimate Custom Night into a movie now called Five Nights at Freddy's Purgatory. And I understand that the ending may seem a bit rushed or wonky or not that great, but it was honestly the only thing I could think of to have William and Elizabeth come back, especially with the idea that Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted is sort of a game that needs to get play tested, and it was a VR game. So yeah, that was the only way I could think of to have him come back. Also, this is the first piece of media, to my knowledge that is, to ever have Mrs. Afton be a major character in the franchise. And this is because I wanted to hint more at William's past before Fredbear's Family Diner opening. So I really wanted to have Cassandra Afton, the name that I gave her, because when I did my research on Mrs. Afton, she didn't have her first name, so I was like, oh, Cassandra works with William, Evan, Elizabeth, and Michael, so Cassandra, that is William Afton's wife's name. So I really wanted her to finally factor into the story and sort of see like, oh, William's sort of always been a bad guy. It wasn't because his children died. It's like, no, he's always been bad. And he proved that when he killed his wife. So very much that's the reason why I had Cassandra Afton even play a part in this entire film. But next week, we reach the penultimate movie of the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise as I pitch a movie for Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted. And trust me when I say I have a few ideas of what to do with the movie. And then after we get done with that movie, we get to the final installment of the franchise in 2 weeks with Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, which that's the one I've had the most plans heading into the, like, starting all this. I've always had plans for the first three. I've always had the big plan with Security Breach. So yeah, next week is Help Wanted, then the week after that is Security Breach, and I can't wait to share those pitches with you. But with all that being said, what were your thoughts on the pitch? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Were you indifferent to it? Whatever your thoughts, post them in the comments down below. Also, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. And again, hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified whenever a new pitch video goes live. With everything out of the way, I've been Mr. EliMac, and I hope you all remember to have a great rest of the day.